Duly noted. Kevin likes official ordinance minutes.
If that could be entered into the minutes, please.
You should say that if you don't.
Yeah, well, our houses, and as I said, we already went to the neighbors, they gave up some of their.
Heyday, that's what I heard.
I'd like to bring the December 13th, 2007 Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Everybody please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Selberg. Here. Commissioner Brule.
Here,
Commissioner Azarmi.
Here.
Commissioner Walker.
Here.
Commissioner Beller.
Here.
Commissioner Kelly. Commissioner Gordon.
Here.
Chairman Flouché.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
All right, few announcements. Anyone who's not yet signed in, please do so at the table located in the lobby. Should anyone wish to speak, please complete the request to speak form, which is also located on the lobby table next to the sign-up sheet. A request to speak form must be completed for each item you would like to speak on, including sub-items. Please note that there are stairs on the right, left, and center aisles, and we ask that you use caution when using these stairs. There's also a ramp located at the audience's left. If you have any written comments, exhibits, petitions, photos, or letters intended to present at today's meeting, please have 17 copies and give them to the staff member in the back of the auditorium. Cindy, she's got her hand up. If you do not have 17 copies, you may use the overhead camera to present your document. Place your document on the podium and line it up with the arrows indicated. If you want your document to go on record, you must hand them to the clerk after your presentation with the agenda item clearly marked on the document. Members of the public cannot speak to the staff members that are sitting up front here at the tables with microphones during the meeting. If you have any questions, please see the staff member located in the back of the auditorium who can meet you in the lobby. All speakers will be limited to 2 minutes to make your presentations and statements. If anyone, please turn off your cell phones and pagers or place them on vibrate during the meeting. If you must receive a call, please leave the meeting area and go outside to have your conversation. We also ask that the audience refrain from talking with one another during the presentations and discussion. Today, the Planning and Zoning Commission will hear public testimony and then forward a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. The items with the recommendations made by the Commission will be heard by the Board of Supervisors on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018, at 9:30 a.m. in the same location, with the exception of any continued items, which I don't think there'll be any. Anyone attending the meeting is asked to remember that the administrative building and campus are tobacco-free areas, which means no smoking is allowed curb to curb. Also, only bottled water is allowed in the auditorium. No food, soda, coffee, etc. is allowed. If there are any items remaining on the agenda, the Commission will break for lunch at 1 p.m. To 2. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes from our last meeting? Any changes or corrections? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Walker, second by Commissioner Gordon. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Number 1.
Thank you. Item 1 is an evaluation of a request to rename a road in Gateway Acres, Tract 3, located in Sections 5 and 6, Township 24 North, Range 19 West, and Sections 1, 3, and 5, Township 24 North, Range 20 West, from Spiegel Avenue to Latosky Drive, located in the Dolan Springs vicinity. Of the 61 notification letters mailed, we received only 10 responses. 4 approve, 6 oppose. Staff recommends approval of the road name.
Is the applicant present? The applicant is present. We have one speaker on the item. Mr. Robinson?
Good morning, Stephen Robinson, Golden Valley, Arizona. I'm not opposed to this. I just had a couple questions after reading the backup material. I noticed that there's about 65 lots on the 4 or 5 sections of road, and I'm wondering, did everybody, because they didn't have a list of who received it, so I just wondered, did every parcel owner on these 4 or 5 different sections receive notices of it? Because it wasn't made clear. So that's my first question. Second question is, how many signs is it going to take to be changed on these 4 or 5 miles of road? I ask because under the old policies of fees, it was $500 plus $125 per sign. And if there's 10 or 20 signs, that could get pretty expensive. They changed it to just $750 regardless of the number of signs. And I'm kind of concerned, how much is the cost that the county's going to bear to make this change? So those were my 2 questions. 1, did everybody receive the notification, and is there a list of that? And 2, how much will the cost be to put all the signs up for that?
Okay,
Thank you.
let's find out. Ms. Ballard?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, all property owners along the alignment that is to have the name change are notified. In this case, as Ms. Cunningham said, there were 61 property
65
owners
letters.
notified. That would have been all the property owners along that alignment. The fee right now is $500 for the road. Well, the fee right now is $500 for the road name change plus $125 a sign. Mr. Latowski applied when it was $750.
That's correct.
For a road name change.
Okay. Does that help you out? All right, cool. Any questions of the applicant or the speaker?
Is that the only one?
That is it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I know that, in the past, about 2 months ago, we had a similar application before us to do a name change. And I know that the Planning and Zoning Commission, voted to decline this application of the name change, but the Board of Supervisors overturned that, unanimously, I believe. And, for that reason, my thinking is that, if the application is consistent with the name change, so since the Board of Supervisors made that decision, I would suggest that, we would be able to forward it to the Board of Supervisors for the ultimate decision.
Okay,
That's my point.
okay. I'll entertain a motion, yes.
Mr. Chairman, I've been corrected. The fee that Mr. Letowski paid was $750 plus the cost of any sign replacements.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that when we had the old rates?
The
Or-
old rates were $500 plus $125 per sign.
Okay.
The rates that Mr. Letowski were under came in under $750 plus the cost of any signs that will be replaced.
My question is since we had to go back on the fees that we had, is he going to get a refund, or is that just the way it is?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, the Board of Supervisors made no provisions for refund when they
Okay. All
received
right, cool.
those fees.
Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve for staff recommendation.
Second.
To change.
We have a motion by Commissioner Zami, a second by Commissioner Selberg. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Call to public.
Call to the public. Steve? Yes, I thought you were walking out the door.
Not at all. Commissioner, Chairman, I presented a little flyer that I passed out, and I also sent to Ms. Chapman some information about water. In the past couple years, we've seen two things be public. One, the shortage of water out here in the Hualapai Valley aquifer, and that's a serious concern with all the areas pumped. The other issue is Golden Valley Improvement District just wanted to raise their fees anywhere from 50 to 150% on the rates and a 200% increase on the fee for the hookup privilege and allocation. That information was based upon, and the whole planning and zoning policies about Golden Valley is based upon the theory, a mistaken statement that there's not any water. In fact, in the 2002 area plan, it says, states there's a lack of water in the Golden Valley, Sacramento Valley aquifer. Quote, water is scarce in the semi-arid southwestern U.S., and the Sacramento Valley is no exception, with only ephemeral streams flowing through the otherwise dry washes during the rainy seasons. In fact, in 2008 or 2006, there was 12,000 acre-feet of water issued to the Rhodes home south of Shinnerup. In 2008, the state produced their preliminary study, AFR 10, that said there's about 9.5 million acre feet. And in their estimate, that Golden Valley area had 2.3 million acre feet of water under that old estimate. But the U.S. or the county said there was only 800,000 acre feet of water. In 2013, the USGS issued their estimate, and instead of 9.5 million, they said there's 28.4 million acre feet, and the amount of water in the Golden Valley area proper ranges between 8 million acre feet and 15 million acre feet if people are willing to go down to 2,000 feet. The policies of the county department, and I ask that you investigate this so that we can find out how much, because right now there's a moratorium on development within GVID, and there's a lot of reasons, and the information I gave you will help you understand why the county should take a look at this subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker?
There shouldn't be any questions of call to public.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. Thank you.
I had to correct that.
Is there any way that we can get some accurate information from DWR or from somebody on what really, because down the road, we're going to have a lot more people coming, wanting to request changes. Is there any way that we can get an accurate number of what the real water table is, or the how many acre feet of water is in Golden Valley Improvement District or the area plan?
Mr. Chairman, the best that we could provide the commission is the estimates that the hydrologists give capacity of that substrata. there will be two different figures. We have a figure from the USGS that takes a look at the basin minus any regulatory or agency limitation. So they're just looking at the geology and the hydrology and estimating the number of acre feet.
Okay.
ADWR has basically two measuring points. And hopefully somebody pokes me if I have the wrong elevations here. I believe it's, if you have an individual well, they'll measure the water 400 feet from the surface and consider that water from the surface to 400 feet as being economically viable for an individual well. For a commercial well, I believe they drop it to 1,200 feet. Here again, that's where it's commercially viable in their estimate to produce, to be able to pump the water out and distribute it to customers. So ADWR estimates are usually based on either that 400, typically oftentimes that 1,200 feet from surface. So they're going to have a completely different number because they have those agents, they impose those agency constraints. And then USGS does. But yes, USGS did give an estimate for the Sacramento Valley.
Can we get some kind of a synopsis of what those acre feet are from both agencies?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
that
we
we've-
can, yeah.
what?
We can give
my-
you a synopsis.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. It's just, when you come up with two drastically different numbers, please remember where they came from.
Okay.
Yeah, my understanding is that short of millions of dollars of investment by NAU and, the U.S. Geological, organization and all that, there is no scientific measure at this time available to say exactly how much water is there. That's my understanding, plus the fact that even at that time, it's like kind of a modeling and all that. I'm sure that Director Walsh and Director Latowski would be able to provide us a little more information on up to date, but that was my understanding that there is no such, measure at this time, not only on Golden Valley, anywhere is being done because it's not feasible to invest that kind of money or there is no budget available. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Azarmi, that is correct, and I try and remember, my husband's a geologist, and he keeps reminding me that hydrology is one part science, one part art. And that is correct. And part of that is if you throw some more money at it, you'll get better results. When are you wasting money? When are you paying more for more money than the results? They did do soundings, so they do have some geophysics to help them out. There is a technique that they didn't use in the Sacramento Valley that they are now employing in the Wallapai, and that's based on gravity measurements, et cetera. But, definitely the more data you collect, the better your modeling is. But I don't know that there's any way to fill in all the data gaps. I'll turn it over to Tim.
Well, I guess my question is that Mr. Robinson, in a conversation that him and I had before the meeting started, is that there's the Golden Valley has put a restriction on development because of the water, and I'm a little confused about that, and it shouldn't be happening.
Chairman Flouchet, if I may, I think that's more a perception of a restriction on development in Golden Valley. Having worked over in Public Works and in particular with GVID, there are certain restrictions on water allocations, and some of that was due to the zoning at a certain time. Basically, GVID has received a certain water allocation assignment through ADWR, and based on that number that they were given a number of those, that was divided up into a certain number of allocations, which were then assigned two members of the Golden Valley Improvement District. There were a certain number that were retained by the district to be able to offer to development as it went. Well, at a point in time, I think it was about 2006, it was decided that in order to, and for whichever reason, I don't want to speak for the decision makers at the time, but at the time it was decided by the board that the sale of those allocations would be based on the zoning of the properties at that time. For instance, if a 40-acre parcel was zoned 10-acre minimum, they would be eligible to purchase up to 4 allocations, and it was based on that. I understand that the Public Works is currently looking at revising that procedure, and I don't want to speak for Public Works, but that would be a question for them as to the policy going forward, what they're presenting to the board for that. But as per an actual moratorium or a preventing growth in Golden Valley, there's not a specific you cannot grow, or you cannot build within the Golden Valley Improvement District.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
And again, correct me if I'm wrong, Director Walsh, my understanding is that, even the water allocation, it is not a definite, measure, because if you're going to have drought and the water basically is going to be scarce, state can easily, take some of that water allocation away from the districts that, right now they have some water. Is that correct?
And forgive me, it's been a little bit since since I've been too involved in that, but from recollection, ADWR has assigned so many acre feet to Golden Valley Improvement District. So that volume of water was then divided by the district into so many allocations. I don't, whether ADWR can
The leftover, I'm saying the leftover, if there is any, let's say that it hasn't been allocated, and, let's say that we have a water shortage or we have drought or whatever, they can come back and tap into all the areas, MVIDD, Bullhead City, Kingman, all of these, and start, retracting some of that.
And that I guess I'm not knowledgeable enough to answer that question, so.
Mr. Robinson, you had something to say?
Yes, as a matter of fact, in 1994, the county requested a designation of adequate water supply because they believed the lifetime usage of 1,400 acre feet was in place, which would be about 6,250 allocations. Instead, the state came back in July of 1995 and said, nope, you have 2,350 acre feet. The other issue with the county's policy is they say, we're going to say everybody uses 200 gallons per day. In fact, the current historical usage is about 160 gallons per day, which means in reality, based upon the ADWR's own statement, there's as much as 13,000 allocations available. And they have, by saying you can't have a subdivision of like down to 1 acre parcels or half-acre parcels, there is a fact because they can't buy water, you can't put in a subdivision unless you call it a dry lot subdivision. You want to sell property in a dry lot subdivision, it ain't going to happen. The other thing, Valley Pioneers right next door, they have no allocation fee. The county wanted to triple that from the current 1,600 to 5,200. Got Valley Pioneers for the last 10 years, ending 2016, they pumped out 75 years worth of water because of the mine, about 5,300 acre feet a year. In that 10 years, and they just came out with a study last summer, the ADWR did, the whole aquifer may have dropped as much as 2 feet after pumping out just them out of their area, which is east of Teddy Roosevelt. They pumped out 75 to 80 years worth of water with a negligible drop. And my point is, because of the moratorium on how you subdivide and by limiting it and preventing it from being cut up into half-acre parcels or 1 acre parcels, a 40-acre piece, a lot of people in Golden Valley have no ability to develop their land. And
Okay.
people have paid as much as $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 for that land, and that's why I want it investigated.
Okay, we'll get on that. We'll get on that and figure out what's going on. And
Moratorium, though.
yes, sure.
wrong, if you will, but was Rhodes allocated a certain amount of water? And if so, is that just sitting without using, or is that allowed to be allocated for some reasons that we, because obviously Rhodes didn't do what we had
Planned.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, roads for Pravada was allocated a certain amount of water by the Arizona Department of Water Resources. I seem to remember a figure, but I'm not comfortable with it enough to say what I think it might be. If the commission's interested, we can check. What the allocations say is that when ADWR issues an allocation, what those allocations state is that the water must be put to beneficial use. When roads or a company under their umbrella began farming out there, that was, according to the ADWR, beneficial use. Now, whether or not they, that beneficial use has been sporadic, whether or not ADWR would consider that sporadic use sufficient to basically pull back those allocations, I cannot answer that. It would not be the county that would make that decision. It would be the Arizona Department of Water Resources.
Okay.
This is a call to public service.
Yeah, okay. Any more call to the public? Okay. Call to public is now closed. I will, yes.
I just want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and thank you, staff, for a wonderful job that you're doing for us. And want to make sure that, we acknowledge your hard work. I know you always are on the problems always shows up on their dish, not, all the positive things that they're doing for us and for the Mojave County. So I really want to thank everybody and wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I second that.
I second that also. I wish everybody a Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas.
Now you can have it.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Nobody wants to second it.
No one wants a second? Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Walker, second by Commissioner Gordon. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.